Good afternoon. The topic I'm going to talk about today will be rather sensitive, actually. It's about foreign talent in sports, something that's close to our hearts and something that maybe some of you might think about but not talk about in public. But before I proceed with my presentation, I'd like to ask, how many of you here play sports? Diablo 3 doesn't count, huh? So... How many of you? Raise your hands. Be proud of it. Quite a few, actually. Okay, how many of you are interested in a full-time career in sports? No, some of you are laughing now, right? How many? No hands? Is there any hand at all? I think keep that in mind, the fact that so few of you, or even none of you, are willing to pursue a full-time career in sports or even consider it. Because that is a key point I'm going to make about the fact that Singapore needs foreign talent in sports. Okay, just a little bit of history and background about this very sensitive topic. It was introduced about maybe 14, 15 years ago by the government. I think it was PM Hwa Chong Institution. He was the one who first mooted the idea that maybe we need to bring in talented foreign athletes to help us win medals. So the aim of this policy was to fast-track talented foreign athletes, sort of speed up the process by which to get their citizenship. And since 1996, we have 65 athletes, not a big number, across 8 sports, including table tennis, football, even basketball and chess as well. We have a grandmaster who comes from somewhere else, and probably China. But well, the key thing is, the main reason for bringing foreign sports talent is that we have success. Bring in medals, bring in trophies. In that sense, has it been a success? How many of you remember watching this game? Singapore versus China. Some of you, okay. You were probably maybe 13 years old at the time. Yeah. So, they lost to China in the final, no surprise. But it was a very exciting game against South Korea in the semi-final. And this is the first time in 48 years. I mean, the last time we had an Olympic medal was a weightlifter at the 1960 Games in Rome, 1960. So it took 48 years for these three women to bring home a silver medal, the first Olympic medal. As an independent Singapore, that is. At the last SEA Games, this girl, her name is Fu Mingtian, she won a gold medal in the women's singles in badminton. Now, that is a big deal because in badminton in this part of the world is world class. And the fact that this woman, who came from China some years ago as a 13-year-old, beat an Indonesian shuttler on the home ground was a big deal. And these new Singapore athletes, so to speak, contributed 130 medals for Singapore in the past 6th edition of the SEA Games. Asian Games, we've had 11 medals, 45 medals at the Commonwealth Games from all these athletes. The picture you see there is the 2 male table tennis players. I know the women are better at table tennis, but they've won some medals too. But apart from just winning medals, I mean, if we want to just bring them here, win medals from us, give them a fat bonus and send them home, that can be rather crude. But the real reason, and that is actually one of the key reasons why foreign talent were brought into Singapore to represent us in the sporting arena, was so that some of what they do, their best practices, the way they train, the way they compete, some of it can rub off the local sportsmen and sportswomen. So this lady here, her name is Isabel. So she's trained alongside, people like Feng Tianwei, Wang Yuegu, Li Jiawei even, and she's learned quite a lot from them. And at the recent SEA Games, she was the youngest Singaporean to play in a SEA Games singles final. And of course she lost, but that was to her own teammate, Feng Tianwei. All right, other benefits as well. Some of you might remember who Ronald Susilo is. He's the one that used to date Li Jiawei for a short while, but let's not talk about that. He started his own badminton academy, so he's retired already, and he's teaching youngsters how to play badminton the Ronald Susilo way. Jing Junhong, she's the deputy head coach of the Singapore women's table tennis team. I remember I came from Dunman High actually, and most of you I know from Chinese High, right? So never mind. She used to coach table tennis at my school, and I remember that a lot of the table tennis players in my time learned a lot under her. We have Luo Nan as well. He's from China. He's won 5 SEA Games gold medals, not just as the captain of the men's water polo team. At the last SEA Games, he actually was the head coach for the women. And the women, guess what? They won a gold medal as well. All right, the flip side is the one you're interested in, right? Hwa Chong is pretty good at athletics, right? Say yes? Okay. I believe you have a thrower. What's his name? Is it Kai Yuan? Is that right? Is Kai Yuan here today? There's a pole vaulter as well, I think. Sheng Yao, right? They're all here too. Okay. Well, before Kai Yuan came along, there were this trio of Chinese throwers. The names Zhang Guirong, Dong En Sing, and another one who's so unmemorable I've forgotten him already. All have since returned to China, and they were complaining with officials about funding, about training, about their plans. I think Gui Rong is still technically representing Singapore, but she's training back home in China. She's not come back for a long time. Okay, in football, we may not have Ashley Young, but we've got people like Agu Kazmir. Some of you might watch the Malaysian Super League. He's doing quite well there, surprisingly. We have Mirko Grabovac, Ekmar Gonçalves in the past. We gave them citizenship because they were top scorers in the S League. They did really well in our professional league. But when we gave them citizenship, what happened was that they scored very little goals, 3 goals for Singapore combined. And then after that, they renounced their citizenship and went back home. Now, that's not a good situation. I talked about Agu Kazmi as well and Itimi Dixon. Both of them are from Nigeria. They were both fast-tracked under the Foreign Sports Talent Scheme. They both went AWOL for a while. They disappeared in Indonesia. They came back, and there was a bit of drama about them. So that didn't work out too well for Singapore as well. So what did the critics say? It's quite predictable, actually. Foreign athletes squeeze out homegrown talent. They discourage locals from taking part in elite sport. And that medals won by Singaporeans are devalued, and that a country can take little pride in their success. Now, I know for myself that is not the case. I'm not sure about you guys, but the fact that someone who comes here at the age of, take Tao Li for instance, our swimmer, she came to Singapore at the age of 12 or 13. She learned basically elite swimming in Singapore. We groomed her into the champion that she is today. Even though her form is not so great now, but she did very well at the Asian Games, at the Olympic Games as well, and we have called her our own. Someone like Feng Tianwei, Li Jiawei in table tennis, they would never have the chance to compete for their country at the Olympic Games if it wasn't for Singapore. Because, although there are 30, 40 competitors at the Olympics, only 3 can represent China. Ronald Susilo is a very good example. He's probably more local than I am sometimes. He eats local food, he speaks in a local colloquialism. He's married an Indonesian girl, however. But I believe some of their genes may pass on to the next generation of Singaporeans. Whether or not it's squeezed out foreign talent, or rather squeezed out local talent, we don't have any numbers. But some people are saying that, because these foreign athletes are there and they're doing so well, why should I even bother, taking up a career in full-time sports? It's a valid argument, but we'll discuss this more in the Q&A segment. So think about this before we go into the Q&A. If doctors, engineers, scientists, and bankers, which I'm assuming most of you are going to become, if you can migrate in search of a better life, like we've seen in Singapore, should talented sportsmen and women be any different? And in a globalized world, will we lose out if we shut our doors to talented athletes who can simply choose to go elsewhere? Now keep in mind that Singapore is not the only country that's doing this. Even the United States, Qatar as well, they've built an entire football team out of African players. Even Indonesia, they've had some footballers as well from outside of Indonesia. The UK, because the Olympics is coming up, and they've actually gone and got some wrestlers from Ukraine and Belarus to represent them, and that's caused a lot of anguish in their country as well. So Singapore is not alone in doing this. And think about, why is it the fact that sports like bowling, for instance, sailing and swimming can enjoy success without needing foreign talent? And is all this backlash, I mean, you go online and you see yahoo.com or whatever, people, netizens commenting online, everything goes back to, if it's a Ferrari, it's a bus driver, it's a waiter, it's all about the dreaded word FT. But is it really part of the Singaporean identity that this is happening, or is it part of xenophobia? So that's something for you to think about as we head into our Q&A. Thank you very much.